My wife was cheating on me with her Uber driver, and I caught them in his car. Hey Reddit. I've been holding this in for a while, and I think it's finally time to get it off my chest. My wife of 6 years has been cheating on me, with her Uber driver. Yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but trust me, it's real. And it's been the most humiliating, rage-inducing experience of my life. I'm still reeling, but I want to write everything down. Maybe it'll help someone else spot the signs. Or maybe I just need to scream into the void. Let's go back a bit. My wife, Samantha, is a freelance marketing consultant. She works from home most of the time but occasionally meets clients at cafes, shared offices, or events downtown. She never liked driving in the city, so she usually took Ubers. And honestly, I didn't think twice about it. We don't have kids, so things were always pretty flexible. We split bills, shared chores, what I thought was a solid marriage. It started small. Around a year ago, she mentioned this driver, Jay, a few times. Said he was funny or cool to talk to. She made it seem like it was just light banter, the way you might talk about a regular barista or mailman. And I didn't think anything of it, why would I? She even joked once about how she trusted him more than her therapist. I laughed. Fool that I was. Then I noticed she started taking more trips than usual. Sometimes she'd say she had a meeting downtown, then come back hours later saying it got delayed or cancelled. She'd come home in a weird mood, distant, distracted. When I asked if something was wrong, she'd get defensive or snap at me like I was accusing her of something. Gaslighting 101. There were other signs too. She started dressing differently. Nothing crazy, just more attention to detail. Nails always done, makeup flawless even for short trips. A new perfume I hadn't smelled before. I complimented her at first, thinking maybe she just wanted to feel good about herself again. But now I know she was dressing up for him. At night she started keeping her phone face down on the nightstand. Once, I heard it vibrate around midnight, and she practically dove across the bed to grab it before I could look. Said it was a client in a different time zone. I let it go. Again. She got real short with me over dumb stuff too. If I asked her about her day, she'd snap. Why do you always need a play-by-play of everything I do? Or if I made dinner, she'd pick at it and say she wasn't hungry. But 20 minutes later I'd find DoorDash wrappers in the trash. It was like she was itching for a reason to fight. I brought up counseling once, and she absolutely lost her mind. You think I'm the problem? That's rich. Then she didn't speak to me for 2 days. I started to feel like a stranger in my own home. The last straw, before everything exploded, was a Saturday about a month ago. She said she was going to a client's baby shower and needed to dress up. Wore a white flowy dress and heels. She ordered an Uber instead of driving. Normally I wouldn't think twice, but this time I checked the app on our shared iPad after she left. Same driver she always had. Jay. 5 stars. Over 400 rides. And guess what? He picked her up from our driveway, and the trip ended 4 hours later only 2 blocks away. 2 blocks. From our house. I wanted to believe it was some kind of glitch. Maybe they got lunch after the party. Maybe she lost her phone. Maybe I was going crazy? But something inside me knew. The gut feeling I'd been burying finally screamed loud enough. And that's where this story really begins. After that shady ride I mentioned in part 1, 4 hours for a short drop-off, I couldn't get it out of my head. I kept telling myself I was overthinking it, that I didn't have proof. But once that seed of suspicion is planted, it grows like a weed. I started watching more closely. Quietly. I didn't confront her yet, but I started noticing everything. She started taking more work trips, even on weekends. And every single time, it was the same damn driver. Jay. I checked the Uber trip histories and screenshots I took just to be sure. She'd delete the ride receipts from her email, but the trips still showed up in the shared iPad notifications if I caught them in time. Then came that day. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I worked from home that day. Samantha said she had to run out for a coffee meeting with a potential client at 2 p.m. I asked if she wanted me to drop her off since I had some free time. She looked me straight in the eyes and said, "No, I'll Uber. It's faster." I knew then. I knew. I waited exactly 3 minutes after she left before grabbing my keys. I wasn't going to follow her, not yet, but I was going to find that car. Jay's Uber profile had a photo, and I had the make and model of his car. Silver Toyota Camry. I knew our neighborhood well enough to guess which direction they might head in. I took a few turns near the main road, checked a gas station lot, and finally turned down an empty side street near the edge of our subdivision. And that's when I saw it. Parked behind an abandoned strip mall. Windows fogged up. Engine running. her white dress unmistakable in the passenger seat. My stomach turned. I parked down the block, got out, and walked up from the rear, phone recording in my pocket. My hands were shaking. I told myself maybe they were just talking. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe they pulled over because of an emergency. But I already knew. I came around the passenger side and looked through the window. And there she was, straddling him. Her arms around his neck. His hands under her dress. I saw everything. I mean everything. The look on her face, the way she whispered something in his ear. It was like watching some twisted scene from a bad movie. I stood there for a second, frozen. Then I knocked. They both jolted. Her head whipped around, and the second she saw me, her face went pale. She jumped off him so fast she hit her head on the door handle. He fumbled with his zipper like a teenager who just got caught by his girlfriend's dad. She yanked the door open and screamed, "What the F*** are you doing here?" Like I was the intruder. She didn't even try to lie at first. She just started screeching that I was stalking her, that I was invading her privacy, that I was ruining something real. That word hit hard, real. She had the audacity to say what they had was real. Then the lies started pouring out. She said, "You've been neglecting me for years." I hadn't. "You're always suspicious of me." This was the first time I ever followed her. "We haven't been happy in a long time." Funny, because just last week she told my mom we were planning a weekend getaway. Jay didn't say a single word. Just sat there, staring at the dashboard like he wished he could disappear. Coward. She shoved me in the chest, screamed at me to leave, and said we'd talk later like adults. I told her we were done. I told her to pack her crap and not be there when I got back. And then I walked away. She called me 30 times that night. I didn't answer a single one. She texted things like, "You misunderstood. We were just talking. You forced me into this by not being emotionally present. I still love you." All lies. Every last one. That night, I started making plans to file for divorce. But trust me, it didn't end there. Not even close. So after I caught Samantha in the Uber driver's lap, half naked and screaming at me like I was the one who cheated, I made one thing clear: we were done. That night, I slept in my truck in a Walmart parking lot. Not because I had nowhere to go, but because I couldn't stand being in the same house with her for another second. By the next morning, my phone was full of messages. Missed calls, texts, voicemails. All of it the same cycle: anger, guilt-tripping, crocodile tears, and manipulative garbage. "You just walked away from our marriage without even talking to me? You're acting like this is all my fault. You were never emotionally available." Jay listened to me. Oh, and the cherry on top? She said she'd only started seeing him because she felt lonely and needed comfort. Apparently, cheating is self-care now. When I finally got back to the house that afternoon, she was already there. Bags packed, but not leaving. Instead, she was pacing around the living room like she owned the place, dressed like she just came from a yoga class she never actually went to. The second I walked in, she pounced. "You're blowing this out of proportion," she said. "You caught us in a bad moment, but it wasn't serious." A bad moment. Like I caught her forgetting to take the trash out. Not screwing another man. She tried to say they only kissed a few times before. And that the car thing was a mistake. Then she had the audacity to say I was the one destroying the marriage now because I was being rash. I told her to get out. She refused. "I'm not leaving my home," she said, folding her arms like some reality TV villain. "This is my house too. We both own the place." Stupid me, thinking joint property would mean shared commitment too. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just started recording with my phone in my pocket, and I told her, "You have until tomorrow to leave, or I'm filing for divorce and freezing everything until we go to court." That's when she lost it. I've never seen someone unravel so fast. She started crying, then screaming, then throwing stuff, not at me, but slamming cabinets and tossing pillows off the couch. "You can't just throw me away," she shouted. "You don't get to win like this." Win what? I wasn't trying to win. I just wanted peace. But to her, it was all about control. She thought she could twist the narrative. And boy, did she try. That night, she started texting everyone. Our mutual friends. My family. Her mom. Telling them I'd flipped out. That I'd gotten violent. That I threatened her. She painted herself as this scared, innocent wife who didn't know how to leave a toxic man. But I was ready for it. I had the videos. I had screenshots of the Uber ride history. The messages. Her screaming at me in the house. I sent everything, to my brother, to my best friend, even to her mom. I wasn't about to let her turn this around on me. And you know what? Most people didn't believe her. My brother texted me. Man, she's out of her damn mind. One of our mutual friends called me and said, Dude, she told me you emotionally abandoned her 2 days after you bought her a new MacBook for work. Turns out, when someone lies constantly, they forget what stories they've already told. But the real surprise? Jay, the Uber guy. He reached out to me. So after the whole explosion with Samantha flipping out and trying to spin a million lies, I got a call out of nowhere, from Jay. Yeah, the Uber driver. The guy who was actually banging my wife behind my back. At first, I was furious. Like, why the hell is this guy calling me? Was he trying to gloat? Mock me? But no. It wasn't that simple. Jay told me he wanted to come clean. Said he felt guilty and didn't want to be part of the drama anymore. That he knew Samantha had a messed up way of playing people, and he wanted out. He also dropped a bombshell. Apparently, Samantha had been stringing him along for months. He thought it was just casual fun at first, but she kept promising things she never meant to deliver, like leaving me, starting fresh, that kind of stuff. He said she would get mad at him for texting other women, like she expected exclusive, boyfriend, treatment, while she was still married and living in our house. Classic Samantha, right? Jay told me there was a whole other side to the story that I never saw. He said Samantha's temper was insane, and that sometimes she'd threaten to accuse him of things just to keep him hooked. This was huge because up until then, Jay had been silent, probably afraid of her or her manipulation. After the call, I realized I wasn't the only one Samantha had been lying to or manipulating. She'd got herself wrapped up in this mess, and was dragging others down with her. I started putting together a list: friends she'd lied to, family she'd pitted against me, and now this Uber driver she'd used as a fling and a pawn. That same night, I showed Jay the videos and texts I had. He was shocked. He apologized for being part of it, but said he didn't want to be involved anymore. That was a relief. But it also got me thinking, this was bigger than just cheating. Samantha had turned our marriage into some twisted game where she was the victim and everyone else was the bad guy. So I started preparing. Lawyer calls, evidence gathering, making sure I was ready for whatever she'd throw at me next. Because, trust me, this was only the beginning. So, after Jay's call and me sharing the evidence, I started bracing myself for the backlash. I knew Samantha was already spreading her twisted version of the story to anyone who'd listen, so I wanted to get ahead of it. First, I sat down with my brother and a few close friends. I showed them the ride logs, the texts, the videos of her yelling and throwing fits. They were stunned but didn't hesitate to back me up. My brother literally said, "Dude, you're not imagining things. This woman's playing games." But then came the real chaos. Samantha went full-on PR mode. She messaged everyone in our social circle, saying I was paranoid, controlling, and that I made her miserable. She claimed I was the one destroying the marriage, and that she was just finding happiness wherever she could. Some people believed her at first. She's a smooth talker, after all. But once they heard my side, especially after I shared screenshots of her explicit texts with Jay, the tide turned fast. Her own sister called me, furious at Samantha for dragging the family into her mess. My mom, who had been suspicious for months, broke down crying when I explained everything. She kept asking how she never saw the signs. Then, one night, I got a call from Samantha's best friend. This friend had been caught in the middle of the drama and told me Samantha confessed she'd been lying about everything: the neglect, the emotional abuse, the supposed plans to leave me that never existed. She said Samantha admitted to using the affair as a way to punish me for what exactly, she never said. Just that it was all about control. And the best part? The friend warned me that Samantha was trying to sabotage my work relationships by spreading rumors at my office. I had no idea until then. So, I started documenting everything: emails, texts, voicemails, witness accounts. I wanted to be ready for the legal war she was gearing up for. By this point, I felt like I was fighting on all fronts, emotionally drained, angry, but determined. Oh, and Samantha? She still hadn't left the house. So after weeks of drama, lying, and Samantha refusing to leave the house, I finally decided to serve her divorce papers. I wanted this nightmare over, no more back and forth, no more mind games. I waited until she was home alone, then handed her the papers personally. Her reaction? Absolutely explosive. She screamed, "You can't do this! This is my home! You're throwing me out like trash!" I reminded her that we both owned the house, but she didn't care. She started yelling about how I was ruining her life, that I was the worst husband ever, and that she'd make me regret this. Then she started sobbing like she was the victim in a bad soap opera. She called me every name in the book, accused me of cheating, which was false, and said I was trying to punish her for being human. When I tried to talk calmly, she cut me off with hysterical yelling, slamming doors and throwing stuff around. At one point, she smashed a vase against the wall and stormed out. That night, she called my work nonstop, sending angry texts and voicemails begging me to reconsider, promising she'd change. I didn't respond. Instead, I started preparing for the next phase, legal battles, dividing assets, and most importantly, protecting myself from whatever lies she'd throw in court. Samantha's meltdown was just the start. Things were about to get way messier. After Samantha's meltdown when I served the divorce papers, she didn't stop. In fact, she went on the offensive, trying to ruin my reputation everywhere she could. She sent nasty messages to my coworkers, claiming I was an alcoholic and that I emotionally abused her. She even posted vague, hurtful things on social media about being a survivor of a toxic marriage, tagging people we both knew. It was painful to watch. At work, some colleagues gave me cold shoulders, unsure what to believe. It felt like a punch in the gut. But I wasn't going to sit quietly. I documented everything, screenshots of her posts, messages, and notes from coworkers who supported me. I talked to HR, explaining the situation calmly and professionally. I even got a restraining order filed temporarily because she started showing up unannounced at my office and leaving threatening voicemails. Meanwhile, Jay, the Uber driver, kept his distance, thankfully. He refused to get involved in the legal stuff and kept apologizing for how things turned out. I hired a lawyer, and we started the divorce process officially. Samantha was furious but also realized I wasn't backing down. She tried a few last-ditch efforts to reconcile, sending me gifts and sweet messages, but I was done. This was beyond repair. At least now, the truth was coming out, and the people who mattered were seeing it. But that wasn't the end of the surprises. So while all this chaos with the divorce was going on, I was still digging. Not obsessively, but I had a feeling that Samantha's behavior didn't just start recently. It felt too calculated, like she'd done this kind of thing before. One night, I was organizing our documents for the divorce. We kept everything in a shared drive, tax returns, insurance, old paperwork, all that. I came across a folder I hadn't noticed before. It was buried deep, labeled something stupid like Notes and Receipts 2018. Inside were scans of old ID cards, emails, and screenshots, from before we were even married. There were messages between Samantha and some guy named Craig that spanned over a year. One line stood out immediately. "You really think he'll find out? He's clueless." The date? 3 months before our wedding. I read through more. It was clear as day, she had cheated on a previous boyfriend, possibly fiancé, while planning her life with me. The tone was the same, cold, dismissive, full of lies and manipulation. But the worst part? She bragged about it. "He buys everything I say. I could have 5 men and he'd still think he's the one." My hands were shaking. I realized I wasn't the first victim, just the one who finally caught her. That night, I called her former roommate, someone I hadn't spoken to in years. We never got along, but I figured she might know something. And oh boy, did she. She told me Samantha had a pattern of cheating and then flipping the script. She said Samantha once had 2 different guys paying her rent in the same month, both thinking they were her only boyfriend. The roommate even said, "I used to think she was just messy. But nah, she's dangerous." Everything started to make sense. The manipulation. The mood swings. The lies. The affair with Jay wasn't some fluke, it was just another chapter in a long book of betrayal. The woman I married wasn't just dishonest, she was a habitual liar, a manipulator, a narcissist. I thought I was hurt before. But this? This was betrayal on a whole new level. So, after I uncovered all that dirt about her past and talked to her old roommate, I sent everything to my lawyer. He was floored. Said he hadn't seen a case this clear-cut in a while. Not only did we have proof of her cheating, but now we had a clear pattern of manipulation, lies, and borderline fraud. Samantha, meanwhile, decided she was going to fight the divorce. Her lawyer sent back a list of demands that were laughable. She wanted half the house, spousal support for 3 years, my dog, yes, my dog that she never even liked, and $15,000 to help her get back on her feet. Her reason? She claimed she gave up her career to support mine. Which is complete BS. She worked freelance and barely brought in steady income. And when she did work, she spent most of it on makeup hauls, spa days, and self-care retreats with her girlfriends. But here's where it gets good. During discovery, her lawyer submitted a statement that directly contradicted what Samantha had told me in text just weeks earlier. Basically, she told her lawyer she'd been faithful until the marriage fell apart. But I had time-stamped messages from her bragging to Jay about Sneaking around. My lawyer smiled when he saw them and said, "You just made this a whole lot easier." So we countersued. We asked for the house, full ownership of all shared assets, and no spousal support. I even asked that she cover part of my legal fees, considering how much time her lies had wasted. And then Samantha slipped up, big time. She forged a couple of bank statements to make it look like she had contributed more to the mortgage than she actually had. She thought no one would notice, but the inconsistencies were glaring. Our bank flagged them almost immediately. Boom. Now we had fraud on the table too. Her lawyer dropped her 3 days later. Samantha called me crying, saying she didn't know what else to do, that she was desperate, and that I was ruining her life on purpose. I didn't respond. I was done playing that game. At this point, everything was swinging in my favor. But there was still more drama to come. After Samantha's lawyer dropped her for submitting forged bank records, she went silent for a bit. No texts, no emails, no tantrums. It was almost eerie, like the eye of the storm. But I knew it wouldn't last. Then, out of nowhere, Jay called me again. I was honestly surprised he still had the guts to reach out, but he said he felt like he needed to get something off his chest. I agreed to meet him in a public place, coffee shop, middle of the day. I wasn't about to take chances. Jay looked worn down. Bags under his eyes, twitchy, like he hadn't slept in days. And the first thing he said was, "Man, I'm sorry. I didn't know she was like this." I didn't say much. Just nodded and let him talk. He told me that Samantha had been more than just manipulative, she was controlling. She demanded to know who he was driving, checked his social media constantly, and even threatened to report him to Uber if he didn't put her first. She told him she was only temporarily married, that we were already separated, and that she needed his help to escape her toxic husband. Classic. Then he dropped the real bomb. She was seeing someone else at the same time she was with him. Some guy named Evan she met on a client job. A younger guy. Jay only found out because she accidentally sent him a screenshot meant for Evan, talking about their next weekend getaway. Yup. While cheating on me with Jay, she was also cheating on Jay with Evan. Jay said, "I feel like an idiot. I thought we had something real, but she just used me to feel powerful." He also told me that Samantha had been pressuring him to send money after she got served with the divorce papers. She told him I was cutting her off financially and trying to leave her broke. She spun the whole thing like I was some greedy monster. He gave her $600 at one point, thinking he was helping. Jay finally blocked her after that. Said he didn't want anything to do with her ever again. I thanked him for his honesty. I didn't like the guy, I still don't, but I appreciated him owning up to it. And he looked truly embarrassed. Broken even. But the most chilling thing he said before leaving was, "She doesn't love anyone, man. She just needs someone to believe her lies." That hit hard. It wasn't about me. Or Jay. Or Evan. Samantha didn't care who she hurt, as long as she was in control. After Jay's confession about the second guy, Evan, and how Samantha was basically conning money out of him too, I was emotionally numb. Not surprised anymore, just disgusted. The legal process was moving forward. My lawyer was on top of it, and everything was stacking in my favor. But Samantha couldn't stand that she was losing. So she did what any manipulative narcissist would do when they're cornered, she exploded. It happened at work. I was in the middle of a meeting with 2 department heads when my phone buzzed nonstop. Calls. Messages. Then a Slack from a coworker. "Hey, your wife's in the lobby. She's asking for you." I froze. She hadn't been by my office in months, and after everything that had gone down, she had no business showing up there. I went downstairs and saw her standing by the reception desk, fake crying, hair a mess, loud enough that everyone could hear her saying things like, "He abandoned me. He's trying to ruin my life. You need to come outside now." My blood boiled, but I kept it together. I pulled her aside, lowered my voice, and said through gritted teeth, "You have 5 seconds to leave this building before I call security and file a full harassment claim." She blinked like she didn't even register the words. Then she started yelling louder. Said she deserved to be heard. Claimed I owed her a conversation. That I couldn't just cut her off like she was nothing. I walked away. Security escorted her out less than 5 minutes later. I made sure to file a report with my company immediately and got a formal no-contact order through my lawyer the same day. Later that evening, she sent me a voice message, slurring, obviously drunk, saying, "You're not better than me. You're just a coward who couldn't handle a real woman. One day you'll miss me." I saved that too. For court. But this wasn't just about embarrassing me anymore, this was harassment. I didn't care if she spiraled. I just wanted her out of my life. That night, I changed every password, locked down all my accounts, and made sure the smart locks on the house were reset. Because if she was willing to show up at my job screaming, who knows what else she was capable of. So, by the time our court date rolled around, I was more than ready. I had everything organized: screenshots, voice messages, emails, witness statements, even copies of her forged bank records that got her first lawyer to quit. She, on the other hand, showed up 15 minutes late, dressed like she was going to brunch. No lawyer. Just herself, sunglasses on inside the building, and a folder stuffed with who knows what. She walked in like she still had the upper hand. The judge looked through the case file, then stared at her and said, "You've had 3 months to retain legal counsel. Why are you representing yourself today?" She mumbled something about legal fees, and then launched into a long, disjointed rant about how I had manipulated her, how I was trying to ruin her financially, and how none of this would have happened if I had just shown her more love. The judge cut her off. "This isn't a therapy session, ma'am. This is a divorce hearing." I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Then it got worse, for her. My lawyer walked the court through the timeline. The documented affair with Jay. The additional affair with Evan, which Jay had confirmed via affidavit. The screenshots of her begging Jay for money. Her forging financial statements. And finally, the security report and footage of her showing up at my job uninvited, yelling in the lobby. She tried to interrupt several times, crying, gasping, shaking her head, but the judge warned her to stop or be removed. When we got to the part where my lawyer played the voicemail of her drunken rant, the room went completely still. "You're not better than me. You're just a coward who couldn't handle a real woman." That voice, slurred and venomous, echoed in the courtroom. She looked like she wanted to sink through the floor. When it came time for her to present her side, she barely spoke. All that bravado, all that hysteria, gone. She looked deflated. For the first time, she had nothing. The judge ruled in my favor. I kept the house. No spousal support. She was ordered to pay part of my legal fees. A permanent restraining order was put in place, covering both my home and workplace. Samantha didn't even stay for the full ruling. She stormed out of the courtroom halfway through, muttering to herself. One of the bailiffs escorted her outside. And just like that, it was over. Years of marriage. Lies. Affairs. Gaslighting. All unraveled in a single afternoon. But even though the legal part was done, I knew she wasn't finished trying to mess with my life. About a week after the court hearing, I started getting weird messages from random numbers. Stuff like, "So you just throw women away now? Your poor wife, she didn't deserve that. Hope you're proud, you ruined her life." At first I thought it was just trolls from some drama Facebook group. But then I noticed a pattern. The messages came mostly late at night, and some included personal details that random strangers wouldn't know. Yup. It was Samantha. Using burner numbers to text me anonymously, and try to guilt-trip me from the shadows. She even created a fake Instagram account, and followed several of my coworkers. The profile picture was a blurry stock photo, and the bio read, "Truth always comes out." Super subtle. But here's the kicker. She couldn't just let it die quietly, she tried one more stunt. A full-on character assassination attempt. She wrote this long, rambling Facebook post on her personal page, no privacy settings, where she claimed I was emotionally abusive, that I had manipulated her into isolation, and that I was dangerous. Said I used money and silence to bury the truth. Tagged mutual friends, coworkers, even her extended family. Only problem? By then, everyone already knew the truth. I had receipts. And more importantly, so did most of them. One of our old friends commented, "Didn't you cheat on him with your Uber driver, and someone else?" Another added, "You really gonna lie to people who watch this play out in real time?" It backfired completely. She deleted the post within 24 hours. But not before screenshots spread like wildfire. One of her cousins even messaged me privately and said, "I'm sorry for what you went through. We always thought something was off with her." I thought that was it. Until Samantha showed up, again, this time at my gym. I was in the middle of a workout, and I saw her through the mirror, just standing there, staring like some scene out of a horror movie. She wasn't even dressed for a workout. Just arms crossed, watching. I got the front desk to call security and had them escort her out. Again. I updated the restraining order the next day to include my gym and any public space within a certain radius. At that point, I wasn't even angry. Just tired. It felt like swatting at the last dying sparks of a fire that had already burned the whole house down. But there was still one more surprise waiting for me. A few days after the gym incident, things finally went quiet. No texts. No fake accounts. No Samantha sightings. I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd finally accepted it was over. Then I checked my mailbox one evening and saw an envelope. No stamp. No name. Just shoved in there by hand. I almost threw it away, thinking it was more drama. But curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a handwritten letter. From Samantha. It was 4 pages long, messy handwriting, smudges on the ink. Here's the gist of what it said. She started by blaming me. Of course. Said I changed. After the first year of marriage, said I. Stop seeing her. The way I used to. That I made her feel invisible. She claimed she never meant to fall for Jay, but that he saw her, listened, gave her the attention I apparently never did. But then it shifted. She admitted to cheating. Not just with Jay, and not just with Evan. She said she'd always struggled with staying faithful. Even before me. That she thrived on attention. And didn't know how to stop. Then came this part, word for word. I never really knew who I was unless someone else was telling me who to be. I hated being alone. I hated silence. So I filled it with chaos. And eventually you. I read that sentence over and over. She ended the letter by saying she wasn't writing to apologize, but to explain. Said she hoped one day I'd understand that she did love me, just not in the way I deserved to be loved. Then, in big, shaky letters at the bottom of the page, she wrote, "Please don't hate me forever." I sat on my porch for a while with that letter in my hands, feeling nothing, honestly. Not anger. Not sadness. Just this weird kind of numb relief. Like I finally had the last puzzle piece. Samantha wasn't just cruel. She was broken. Not in a pity-party kind of way, but in a dangerous, unstable way. And I realized that staying with her any longer would have destroyed me, too. I didn't respond. I didn't keep the letter. I scanned it, handed a copy to my lawyer for the record, then burned the original in the fire pit out back. It felt symbolic. Necessary. Because one final chapter was left. It's been about 6 months since I burned that letter and finally closed the book on Samantha. And in that time, something strange happened. I stopped feeling the need to explain myself to anyone. People still ask about it sometimes. Friends, coworkers, even the occasional awkward family gathering. But I just smile now and say, we grew apart. And then I move on. Because it's not the betrayal I want to carry forward, it's the lesson. After the divorce was finalized, I did something I hadn't done in years. I took a road trip. Just me, no timeline, no destination. I drove through the mountains, camped under stars, stayed off social media, and finally let my brain breathe. I realized how much I'd lost myself in that marriage. I wasn't just mourning a relationship, I was grieving the version of me that had kept trying to fix something that was already broken. Trying to be enough for someone who was never going to be satisfied because the emptiness came from inside her. I started therapy. Nothing fancy, just a weekly session where I could sit and untangle the knots she left behind. I unpacked all the gaslighting, the manipulation, the guilt. And slowly, I started rebuilding the version of me that used to be confident, grounded, at peace. I got a dog. A rescue. Funny enough, she's terrified of loud noises and flinches when you move too fast, like someone hurt her before. We've been helping each other heal. I reconnected with old friends I had drifted away from because Samantha didn't like their energy. Turns out, those people were my real support system all along. We grabbed beers, played pickup basketball, laughed until midnight. Things I hadn't done in years. And no, I haven't started dating again. I'm not in a rush. I'm not looking for someone to fill the space. I'm finally okay being alone. Because now I know the difference between loneliness and peace. And as for Samantha? Last I heard, she moved in with some guy in another city. Not Jay. Not Evan. Someone new. She posted a photo a few weeks back. Champagne glass, expensive heels, fake smile. Same cycle, different name. I don't hate her anymore. I don't even wish her well or badly. I just let her be someone else's lesson now. So yeah? That's the end of it. From walking in on my wife in the back of an Uber, to burning her last letter, to finally waking up in the morning without a pit in my stomach, it's been a ride. But I'm still here. And I'm finally me again. Thanks for listening, Reddit. You have no idea how much writing this all down helped me stay sane. Stay strong out there. Don't ignore the red flags. And remember, peace is worth walking away for. Up.